Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PWT Talks NXT. Is it uncool to say aloha when a surfer girl was betrayed in the biggest possible way? She's not Hawaiian, but she probably hangs out there. Yeah, busy show tonight. We will make hay. 4 championship matches. 3 of them changed hands, and one that I thought had a really good chance of changing hands did not, and it was for the reasons that we all thought it might not. And we will talk about that. A match where I was surprised it wasn't getting the main event treatment, but when I saw how they built that, and when I saw how they built the main event, you couldn't do it any other way. So I'm Kelly Wells. You can find me on Blue Sky at other Kelly Wells, and another, really some kind of spooky name. Main event: Ethan Page defending against Miles Bourne. Ethan desperately trying to be the longest lasting North American champion in history. And he was so close. He was so close. 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Everybody got involved in this one. We got the Vanity Project, all 3 members, nailing Miles with the belt, the Evolve Championship, I think, and then they themselves getting beaten up by Hank Tank and Shiloh Hill. Ricky Saints tries to show up, but he also neutralized by Joe Hendry. Miles Bourne shoves Page into an exposed turnbuckle, hits Bourne again, and they did a really good job of making it look like he wasn't going to win because he hit Bourne again and didn't win with it. Which is usually a sign, well, that was the visual, and now he's not going to win. And he got the dub, and not totally unheard of for a guy to win, celebrate by going and hugging the hottest woman in the audience, but it's not usually because it's his mom. But in this case, best looking woman in the audience was Miles Bourne's mom. So, shout out to the Bourne family, just winners all around tonight. So Miles Bourne, 9 months ago, won that 25-man battle royal out of nowhere to become a thing. And tonight, he's finally a champion. Nate?
Miles' mom has got it going on. I don't know. That's the first thing that popped into my head when you said it. Anyway, no, Ethan Page, new champion, or not Ethan Page, Miles Bourne, new champion. We talked about the possibility of this last week. We thought maybe we were going to see this evolve into a triple threat between Shiloh Hill, Ethan Page, and Miles Bourne. But alas, that is not what happened. And I'm totally fine with that. We talked a lot about it last week, and pros and cons for it and against it. But I like what we got. We got a lot of fire out of Ethan Page I keep saying Ethan Page when I mean Miles Bourne. We keep getting we got a lot of fire out of Miles Bourne, as well as Ethan. But Miles kind of continued that chip on his shoulder type attitude that he's had the last handful of weeks. I thought this worked really well, and Ethan Page, even though he didn't quite hit Obafemi's record, and I don't think he broke Carmelo's record. I'd have to look that up. I don't remember now, but he's still one of the longest reigning North American champions in NXT history. So he's, got that to talk about. 2-time NXT champion, 2-time North American champion, former NXT champion. I think this might be the beginning of the end for Ethan Page in NXT and getting called up to the main roster. He just lost both of his belts in pretty short order. And we've talked quite a bit about him just kind of being coming into NXT pretty much ready to go up to the main roster, but obviously got to go through the NXT system and all of that. So I think this might be the beginning for the end of him in NXT, which is a shame for me, but that's fine. It's fine. That's what NXT is.
I thought tonight might be the beginning of the end for a lot of people in NXT. And I know
tonight seemed like a big reset
on that, but yes, it really did.
Yeah. It did kind of seem like they were trying to I mean, how often do we get seven matches on the show tonight? Well, granted, I guess six. One of them was sort of a match, but we'll talk about.
7 matches bell to bell.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'll
An
give you that.
official
I'll give you
win and
that.
a loss, but yeah, it's funny when your speed championship is the third longest of your 7 matches on the
Yeah,
night.
but this felt like a big show. This almost felt kind of like one of the PLE lights, like Halloween Havoc or something like that, which they'll usually still have on a Tuesday rather than a Saturday or Sunday. Um, kind of felt more akin to something like that than a normal, Tuesday night TV show. Um, but yeah, as far as the main event goes, I'm, thumbs up for me with, Miles Bourne getting the win. I'm glad to see him get the win, and he's one of the things that leading up to this, Miles Bourne, he was still missing something. He was connecting with the audience. People liked him, and I mean, I know I've spoken about it, how I kind of liked the fact that they're using his disability as kind of in a positive way to get him over. It's kind of being a champion of people that have disabilities, hearing impairments and things like that. So I'm all for that. But I still felt like he needed something, and this extra fire that he's had the last couple of weeks, I think, is really what that was. What he needed. So Ethan Page's reign as North American champion was awesome. It was entertaining, and it led to some really great moments. But we'll see. We'll see what Miles Bourne can do here. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think he could carry the ball, but following Ethan Page's reign, in terms of entertainment value, might be a little bit challenging. But also too, he's getting over, but he's not over yet. So we'll see if the belt does that, and we'll go from there. But thumbs up for me. And I don't know if I said this or not. I don't think I did. They still protected Ethan Page quite a bit with the finish, with bringing Vanity Project, Hank and Tank, Shiloh Hill, Ricky Saints, Joe Hendry, all of them out. It protected Ethan Page, a little bit even in the loss, and obviously got all of those kind of big players. I guess sort of big players. Those guys have been all over the shows yet lately. Gets all of them kind of in that last minute main roster spot or main event spot. So yeah, thumbs up. Congratulations to Miles Bourne.
Yeah, I was going to jump off of something you said and then didn't. I think I was going to say that I think Ethan Page will be the more memorable NXT North American champion than Hayes or Femi. But I am saying that because I don't think of those guys as North American champions anymore. I think of those guys as NXT champions.
I still think of guys like Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole, when I think of the North American title.
Actually, I wouldn't have thought of Adam Cole. I would have only thought of him for the main one. But apparently he won that also. But yeah, Gargano's who my mind kind of goes to, even though he did go on to be the big
NXT
champion multiple times. But yeah, Wes Lee is probably my defining North American champion, if not Page now. But yeah, Ryan Slorio helps me out in the chat, says Sol Ruka is billed from Honolulu, Hawaii. Okay, I didn't go crazy. So she is from Hawaii. I said she was Hawaii adjacent and was thinking that she was not actually from there. Nate, I wrote something down today. This is apropos of nothing. Something that every single time I watch a WWE show, modern show, every single time it starts with the same thing with Triple H narrating. And along with him, what I say every single time is then, now, forever, your mother. I say it every time. I'm say going then, to now, forever, your mother. And I have said it on every single WWE show I've watched. 5 years? I don't know. I say it every time. And my wife, for the first bunch of times, she's like, what? I was like, I'm saying the thing that I say every single week at the exact same time. You don't have to ask. And now she's just like, are you going to outgrow that? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm
Not
not.
until not until the day they stop playing it.
Yep. Then now forever your mother. And by
Yeah.
your, I mean Miles Bourne's apparently. So funny time to bring that
Heyo.
up. Yeah, she's my age. I can say that. I can be thirsty if I want. Okay. Yeah, so that was our main event. There were okay. So last week we were talking leading to a triple threat. But everything on this show really, really teed up the fact that Bourne was going to win the championship. Like every segment they had beforehand, all this really emotional stuff, like this journey stuff, it all made it was almost a spoiler that he was going to win this championship, which is the only thing that sullied the match for me because I really thought it was obvious that he was going to win. With all the stuff they did backstage, which it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It just makes you want to see it all that much more. And then we did get to see it. So good stuff. I guess we'll go to the only other long match, the Vanity Project challenging Dark State for the tag team championships. This was another just hilarious match, a hilarious outing for Vanity Project. Almost 12 minutes. But Dark State just absolutely hammering these two idiots who just keep getting into trouble over and over. Can't do anything to Osiris. So they try to at least just make it so Saquon can't make the tag once he's in there. So they're just trying desperately to keep him in the ring. And yeah, there's a fracas outside on the ramp side, and Tony D'Angelo, who I don't know why I wasn't thinking of him showing up. He shows up and nullifies. Who does he take out on the apron? I think Saquon. Yeah. And then he rolls Saquon in, and then he rolls a semi-lifeless Brad Baylor in, who rolls in, but then kind of falls like a dead fish and wins again like a dead fish for the second week in a row. Vanity Project, your new champions. Kind of awkward for heel champs to lose to heel champs, but Vanity Project are the kind of heel tag team that were made to be tag team champions because it's all going to be hook and crook and cheating constantly to beat everybody they do beat. It's going to be hilarious. And Dark State has this great thing brewing with Tony D, which is, it's great for him. I don't know if it'll be great for them. We'll see if it does anything for them. But yeah, Dark State's been around longer than folks think. And yes, this was their second reign because they had to be the ones to give the Hardy Boys their reign. But yeah, 11:51 Vanity Project over Dark State. And these guys had a couple of backstage segments where they were all psyched and all rah-rah with Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. Somebody in the chat, Pile Driver Pete says, I like how united the men's heel locker room is. I'm torn there because I kind of like the idea of no honor among thieves. But there's a little of that going on here because Ricky Saints was still he was still sort of subtly mocking Ethan Page for like his bad leg. So there was still some of that there. And so who knows how that's going to go exactly. But I like that they're showing a united heel locker room because it's not something that happens very often. And I think it'll just be interesting to see where they go with that. But at any rate, yeah, your opener, Vanity Project, your new champions. New champions, something I said 3 times tonight, Nate.
So if it makes you feel any better, we did talk about Tony D'Angelo potentially interfering in this match last week. So you did think about it.
Okay.
You might have not thought about it tonight.
I did not think about the fact that, I didn't think about it tonight at all. I'm glad to know that last week I was smart enough to know that it might be coming.
Yes. I don't remember which one of us brought it up, but I know we talked about it. I was expecting Tony D to show up and cost Dark State the titles here. I wasn't sure if that was necessarily going to be what was going to happen. There was a couple different ways they could have gone, which we did talk about last week. But I was thinking with the story that they've been telling between Dark State and Tony D'Angelo that he was going to be part of this match here tonight, one way or another, whether or not it was going to cost Dark State or maybe backfire and Tony D'Angelo, somehow, cost Vanity Project. But with the way that they've been pushing Tony D'Angelo, I didn't think they'd want to make him look like an idiot by trying to help or trying to cost Dark State the titles and have Dark State get the one up on Tony after all. So this was actually the way that I thought this might be going. I'm 100% here for it. As I say every week, I've watched Ricky Smokes quite a bit here on the Indies, up in New England, and so it's really cool to see a guy that I kind of watched, on the Indies kind of start to develop and hone his craft. Now NXT champions just a month into his NXT contract. It's really cool. But not just that, as Kelly just said, this is a tag team that is made to be tag team champions. The Eddie Guerrero mantra of lie, cheat, and steal, it's made for them, but they're also super egotistic and a little dumb. And it just kind of, it makes for great, annoying heel champions that you just want to see get beaten down. So, and speaking of getting beaten down, these guys can sell. These guys can sell their asses off. They can make anybody look good, at least from what I've seen so far. So, yeah, 100%.
And they opened the match with that. Like Ricky Smokes
Yeah.
did the thing where he's getting all psyched up and like doing everything, like slapping himself and beating his chest and everything. And then he runs into Osiris Griffin and immediately just backplants. It's just exactly what you want out of an obnoxious dude like Smokes. It was perfect.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. So, yeah, I don't really have much more to add there, much more to say. But yeah, I think the Vanity Project, all three of them are on a pretty good trajectory here to break through any ceiling anybody might have thought that they have had kind of placed on them. But will they make it to be, I could see Vanity Project once they hit the main roster, maybe be, tag team champions, Raw, SmackDown, or something like that. Don't know if I see Jackson Drake being a WWE World or WWE Heavyweight Champion. But I think they, as it stands right now, I think these guys have some great careers ahead of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've talked about this, but these guys can be essentially the Mean Street Posse if they want them to be. Where
I don't
they
know
could,
if we have, but yes,
they could visit some important spots. And if anything bigger comes of it, then great. And if it doesn't, that's fine. They're funny because you want to see them get beat up, and they're just dudes who are just above it all, and they're going to get hammered because they're totally deluded. So, yeah, delusional heels right up there is one of my favorites, and these guys are definitely that. They're deluded, they're stupid, and they're arrogant. They're all the things. They're all the things that I want heels to play. I find them very, very fun. Yeah, a lot of love for everything they did. Might as well talk about the Joe Hendry retrospective. This was a two-parter, but they were both parts were on this episode. Got some old pictures of a Joe Hendry with dark hair. Can you believe it? You should believe it because he doesn't dye his beard. But yeah, he was a dark-haired kid, and then it showed some stuff from his early career and early TNA career, all the way to going viral for his songs, particularly his theme song, realizing it was doing huge numbers on TikTok, and then all of a sudden being at WrestleMania and kind of wondering how he got there. I thought that this was on a week where this week, once again, was kind of an employment program. Damn near everybody on the show was on this show. Again, other than Nikita Lyons. She'll apparently be on the show next week. But basically everybody else was on the show. This was a good way to feature your champion without having him selling a championship match for Vengeance Day, which he'll have, but that wasn't the big project out of this week's very stacked, very takeover like show. By the way, I will be at the Dallas Card Show during Vengeance Day. I will not even be in the state or anywhere near the ability to see that show. So I will have to figure out somebody to do that with you because I won't be here. Yeah, Joe Hendry. I've heard that you believe, Nate.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. No, both of these vignettes I thought were really well produced, and I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that do know the history of Joe Hendry, but there's probably more that don't. So, I think to a lot of people, especially probably more casual fans, Joe Hendry is just a guy that showed up one day when somebody said his name, and he happened to be the TNA champion at the time, and he's kind of stuck around. But to kind of go back and hear his history and how he got here, I liked it. Especially the second one where they get more into his TNA career and what he needed to do to claw his way to become champion. I feel like a lot of it was a good blend of real life and kayfabe, like storyline, and to kind of paint the picture of Joe Hendry, blurring the lines between the character Joe Hendry and the person Joe Hendry. Assuming that's his real name. I never even looked that up before. I'm going to just assume it is. I think it is, but I don't know. Yeah. So there we go with the Joe Hendry stuff. I like it. I dig it. And I'm always going to be on board with any character development stuff. Even if it's bad, I'm going to give him credit for trying, though I'll still say it was bad.
I believe it is Josephus Hendry. Josephus. So
wait, seriously? That's amazing.
No, don't look it up or anything to prove it.
Okay, fine.
Believe me here.
Yep, that's totally what it is.
Sol Ruca versus Zarya. Okay, so this has been brewing for a minute, Nate. Maybe 2 minutes. It's been percolating. It's been marinating. Zarya has turned heel tonight. She finally had enough. We knew that she probably had. They really laid it on thick with the entrance. She held the ropes open for Sol Ruca and everything. So it just seemed like when she held open the ropes, I was like, okay, it's going to happen. And then I wondered, why is this not the main event? And it's because the turn was before the match. Mike Rome and his frosted tips were about to announce the match, and the bell had not rung yet. And Zarya, I think, started with a spear or some other kind of slam, and then followed up with an F5, and then yelled at Sol Ruca, hey, good luck. And the bell sounded, and we got our shortest match on NXT ever, I believe, at 4 seconds. So this was JC then stealing the victory, and then Zarya continuing to pummel Ruca outside, put her up, like did something to her on the table, called her a bitch and everything. That's just not nice, Nate. So yeah, Zarya is she is that girl now. So I'm assuming that Sol Ruca is all but done. I don't know that they are going to follow up on this or if they even should. I think that it is time to call up Sol Ruca if you have anything for her at all. Maybe hang her down for a championship match, or maybe have her get involved next week. But Zarya got a lot of cheers. She got a chant of her name after this, which is not something that it happens every now and then, but she got a chant of her name after she did this to Ruca. And fans just love it. Kind of character shows agency. Go ahead.
Well, and I wasn't going to start with talking about that chant, but since we're here, that's where I'm going to start. I'm taking over, Kelly. I'm taking over. No, I did hear the chant too, obviously, and this is the way I felt about it. I have I've liked Zarya since she's come in, and I think the general consensus, especially things that I read like on Reddit and whatnot of Zarya, people like her. They like her style of wrestling. They like the dressing of the character and the entrance and the music and all of that. But they haven't really liked the way she's been booked and kind of this buddy buddy with Sol Ruka. I wouldn't say people haven't necessarily liked it. I think they have, and I know I certainly have been entertained by it. But I don't think this is what we necessarily expected for Zarya, which we've talked about many times before. And I don't think we're the only ones that feel that way. So I'm not surprised she got those chances. I think people are just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting because man, this angle went for a while, waiting for her to finally snap and turn. So I'm glad it finally happened. I was kind of expecting it to happen this week, but not necessarily in the way that it did happen. Um, it's it was an interesting way to do it. Usually when there's an attack or something like that, it's during a match or there's a moment during the match where, you get that camera shot of the person, their facial, expression changes, and then all of a sudden they attack or something like that. This was, I don't want to say unique because I'm sure it's happened before. I just can't think of another time, but I'm sure this has happened before. But it kind of came out of nowhere, and it was it was a way for Zarya to kind of almost embarrass Sol Ruka, by attacking her right off the bat before the bell rang, and then forcing her to go into the title match and losing in a matter of seconds. So I think it worked on a number of levels. To have for Zarya to get that moment, to potentially write Sol Ruka off of NXT, maybe keep her off TV, period, for a couple weeks, and then have her debut on the main roster. If not, she comes back next week, and then maybe Zarya hits her again, attacks her again, writes her off TV, but whatever. But I think it's good for the Sol character too. But it also fits JC Jane. JC Jane took that opportunity, as I think anybody defending a championship, well, any good heel defending a championship would, took advantage of that opportunity and clobbered her, didn't give her a moment to, kind of catch her breath or anything like a sporting champion may, a good babyface champion may. But she just clobbered her and pinned her, and that was about it. So it kind of helped the JC Jane character in that way, that like just sniveling little heel. So I think all around it worked, and I'm surprised I'm saying that because usually things like that are a little janky or wonky, or they don't feel, it feels like they might have been able to do it a little bit better. But I really like the way they went about this, whether or not, how long was the match? How long did you say it was? 6 seconds? Something like that? 4 seconds. Yeah. So even if it was 4 seconds, I think it was 4 seconds. Well done.
Good follow-up by Zarya, as just 45 minutes later in the show, she runs across Fatal Influence and says, "Hey, did you solid in your match tonight? You owe me." And Laney Reed tried to stand up for her. Fallon was Sir not appearing in this film. She was there. She just didn't get to talk. And JC said, "Yeah, I the bell rang. I won the match. I don't owe you anything." And Zarya said, "No, you're going to give me a match next week, or I'm going to do the same thing to you that I did to Sol." And JC stepped back so she could be flanked by her buddies. So good work by everybody all around here. Zarya off to a good start. You never know how much her height is going to work against her, because her height is it's not high. She's one of those women that you might think of as big, and then, like, I met Shayna Baszler and I towered over her, and I was like, "Oh, right. The difference between men's and women's heights sometimes is this." And she's a stone cold killer, and I'm a stone cold nothing. And but I'm quite a bit taller than her. So it I don't know. I thought that this was a really good follow-up and a really good way to get Zarya straight there in a way that does not have to involve Sol, but if they want it to, it definitely can. So anything on the follow-up before I move on?
No, let's move on.
Hey,
Oh, wait a
Elio
minute. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I had one tiny little thing that I thought of. I'm
so
sorry.
excited to say his last name. So excited. Okay,
That's why I did it. I'm building that anticipation with you, so that way when you say it, it's going to be more meaningful and impactful. Anyway,
sure.
the only thing I was going to say is I think now, especially with what you pointed out with that scene with JC Jane, where she kind of stepped back when Zarya, threatened her. I think now we're going to finally see that side of Zarya that I know I was talking about when I first started talking about it, about this segment. Finally see, a more heelish and brutal Zarya that I think we all expected when she first came into the company. So now, okay, of course I go then throw to you as you're taking a sip of beverage. So I'm stalling for a moment.
Sure.
It didn't come through. You don't want to say that again.
Oh, that is cruel.
That was noise canceling.
Unplugged. Elio Lafleur.
Ah, there we go. Lafleur.
He also a new champion. 3 first-time champions tonight. Vanity Project, Miles Bourne, Elio Lafleur. All baby faces, apparently, because Vanity Project were beating heel champions. Although Dark State were essentially playing the faces in their match, which is so strange. Like the Dark State, like Saquon was face in peril. Very, very strange. And then it got beat up by babyface Tony D'Angelo. It made no sense, folks. It just didn't. Elio Lafleur versus Eli Knight and Jasper Troy. This was an exemplary big versus small. Jasper Troy is really figuring this out, and Eli Knight is a good budding underdog, and Lafleur is already really, really good at that. 5 minutes, 50 seconds. Lafleur and Knight, of course, just constantly trying to break down Jasper Troy, just cut him down, and him just swatting him out of the air over and over. The end comes when Eli Knight finally hits moonsault, frog splash. I'm going to say moonsault.
It was a moonsault
on a staggered Jasper Troy, but he bounces off of him. So Lafleur flies in and steals the pin. So a little iffy, although he did a lot of the work to cut down Jasper Troy. But I really like how Eli Knight was looking on annoyed as Elio Lafleur was given his championship. So I thought that the Speed Championship did wonders for Jasper Troy, even though he was only champ for 3 to 5 months. I thought it really, really did good things for him. Gave him a reason to be in short matches. Gave a reason to show him squashing people, and he loses in a triple threat, which is an okay way for them to lose. Although he did take the pin, which is sometimes something they try to avoid. But I like that Elio defeated the champion. Elio, to me, barely feels figured in. So to be a champion already is very surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, your speed match, 5th shortest match of the night. Now, one of the shorter ones was a speed match also. But yeah, 5th shortest match of the night. Elio, already a champion. And Jasper Troy, I think, is losing up here.
So very glad to see Elio get the win, but I really didn't think Jasper Troy was going to lose this just yet, for a lot of the reasons that you just mentioned. As vocal as I have been about not liking the whole speed concept or whatever, I will admit it does make sense to have it in NXT and for guys like Jasper Troy and some of the newcomers to have short, meaningful matches. But I don't know. I didn't think, like you said, Elio, he doesn't feel very fit into the equation right now. He's barely just debuted. And even then, I don't know if maybe it's the language barrier disconnect or something like that. I don't know. We only have really seen a handful of, I think it was 1 or 2 vignettes about him, to kind of get some story development. So I think a lot of people are just behind him in general based off of his look, his charisma, and obviously in-ring ability. So I'm happy to see it. Definitely happy to see it. Eli Knight certainly deserving as well. So I'm sure he'll get his moment to shine, before long. Um, I hate to admit it, but again, I'm very vocal about not liking the speed concept, but I actually really enjoyed this match. I thought it was booked exactly the way that it should have been. You've got the two underdogs going up against the Goliath, the giant, and Jasper Troy. They they respect one another. They being Eli and Elio. They respect one another, but they also know that they're pretty evenly matched. So they're really, they need to team up to take down the big guy, but they also still need to go very hard once the big guy's taken down, in order to kind of get an upper hand against their opponent. And I think even in that 5 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever it was, um, they were able to tell that story really well, all the way up to the finish with Eli getting that moonsault, and then Elio just kind of sliding in and eking out the win. He saw an opportunity and took it. And how many times do we see wrestlers, where there might be an opportunity, but it wasn't scripted that way, so they can't go and take it. This, I mean, I guess was scripted this way, but at least it kind of made him look like a more intelligent and competent technical wrestler, I guess. Maybe not technical wrestler is not the right word, but more ring awareness. We'll say ring awareness. I guess that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, all around, I think this worked. Jasper Troy, I'm a little worried about where he goes from here, because I like him, and I think there's definitely something there, but he is. I think he's still way too green to have a big impact on the heel side of the roster right now. So, especially with guys like Keanu Carver, as Booker T kept saying over and over and over tonight, Keanu. Um, we've got him, and just I don't know. And even a couple of the guys in Dark State, like they're big hunking dudes. So Jasper Troy, I almost feel like there's a possibility, an unfortunate possibility, he may wind up fading more into the background, and in favor of somebody like Keanu Carver or I was going to say Royce Keys, but he's not coming to NXT. I don't know. I don't think he's coming to NXT. It seems like it's going to be the main roster. So yeah, there we go.
My main high school girlfriend referred to Keanu Reeves as Kenu Reeves. And I was just like, of the ways that could be mispronounced, that would not seem to me to even be on the table.
What did you say? Kenu?
Kenu. Yeah, Kenu
Yes,
Reeves. And she said it multiple times. And I was just like, where you're adding letters that aren't even there. You're not just misinterpreting the letters in front of you. You're just putting new ones in. There is. I mean, the main reason she's an X is because she likes women.
Well, there you go.
It's actually really cool. We're friends again. But yeah, was never going to be a long-term thing, apparently, because there's something she learned about herself a little later. Thea Hale versus Blake Monroe speed match. Might as well stay with speed. 1 minute and 7 seconds, this one. A lot of weeks that'd be the shortest match, but thank you, JC Jane. Thea Hale over Blake Monroe when Jada Parker showed up and hit Hypnotic. Not wearing her hair the way she usually does. I don't know about this change. I don't know. I really like Jada as she is, but whatever. I'll get used to it. So Thea gets through Blake in very short order in a match, primarily to work toward Monroe Parker, but also to get Thea Hale one step closer to what I think will be a shot at Fallon Henley. It could be Ren also. It could be Nikita, but I don't know that Nikita Lyons versus Fallon Henley makes any sense from a fan perspective, as they they're both heels. But we'll see. But yeah, Thea will face the winner of Ren Nikita. I thought Thea had a ton of fire tonight. I really, really thought that she was very good. Now, when you know your match is going to be around 67 seconds long, you can go in there and be a house of fire, and it's not a problem. All the same, she didn't have to go this hard, but she went that hard because she's Thea Hale, and going hard is what she do. So, so Thea Hale over Blake Monroe in a $1.07, and moving toward a couple different things, Nate.
I don't have much more to add that you didn't already. I think for what it was, this worked. I obviously like seeing Thea Hale getting a win here, even if it was due to a distraction win, distraction finish. Because I love Thea Hale, so she gets to advance, and that's awesome. The more spotlight and TV time she gets, the better. And yeah, continuing the Jada and Blake Monroe thing. Jada's new look, I did like it. So, I don't know. I think it works. Yeah, I don't have another original thought to add that you haven't already said.
Backstage, Ren QCC had a thing with Kalani Jordan, and then Lola Vice attacked her. Lola Vice later went to Rob Stone and said that she wanted Kalani Jordan in an underground match at Vengeance Day. And I mean, if I'm Rob Stone and Lola Vice comes in and she's wearing that, I'm going to be like, yes, I don't know what the question is, but sure. What was that leather thing? Listen, man, I've not been like specifically a Lola Vice guy, but oh my God. Anyway, so that is a thing that's going to happen. Underground match. This is their way to get Lola Vice a big win because they keep giving her title matches that she loses. But yeah, there it is. Kalani, Lola, lots of brawling outside of matches this week, and this was part of it. But anything on Kalani, Lola's saga?
Shawn Michaels did say he wanted chaos. Chaos, I tell you. And they're
true.
taking it to heart with all the backstage fights and things breaking out. No, I think this is good. Kalani as a heel is so much better than I expected her to be. Well, I wouldn't. Let me rephrase that. I was hoping she'd be a good heel. I don't know if I necessarily expected her to be a good heel, but she is. Her and Lola, that's in an underground match. That's going to be a fun, brutal match. They've been making that underground match kind of Lola's match. I think she's been in the last like 3 or 4 of them. So I think you're right. Where we've talked, or at least I've brought it up. I don't know if I think either you've mentioned it too, or if you've agreed with me. Lola, other than when she gets her wins in AAA, she's been on the losing end of a lot more matches than winning, I feel like lately, especially big matches. So, if she's not challenging for a title, then yes, I feel like, what Kelly said is exactly right. This is a way to get her a big win on a relatively big stage like Vengeance Day, a larger stage than normal, let's say that. Kind of give her some of that momentum back, before she inevitably goes for another title or something like that. So, yeah, there we go. Back to you.
Ryan Florio says, you think Kalani is going to win the underground? No, I do not.
And yes, it is Mr. Iguana, Lola's mixed tag partner.
Her partner is Mr. Iguana. I'm always amused that they just don't want to mention it. I have no idea why they're not mentioning that Mr. Iguana is the partner. Like they work with him, they have him on shows, so it's not something they have to hide from. But
I'm
maybe
wondering
because they want her to be a badass, they don't want to associate her with a goofball. Like, I don't know what you got.
It could be something like that, or maybe they don't want to get the crowd's hopes up by mentioning Mr. Iguana and thinking that now that he's affiliated with Lola, he'll be showing up more. He's obviously still has his, I think I'm assuming he's in Mexico, lives in Mexico, so it could be a mix of the two, something like that. But that was at least what came to mind for me.
Sean Legacy versus Keanu Carver. This was 413. We already talked the name Keanu, but here we are.
Keanu.
I really liked this match. A good big versus small. No surprise that they work well together because they had plenty of matches together in Evolve. A couple of them televised. Probably worked a lot together backstage too, because these guys have both been there for quite a while. So no surprise. I really dug what they did here. I think that both these guys are moving in the right direction. Legacy as a likable underdog and Carver as a mean stone cold killer. The audience, of course, chanting Keanu because they would do that. They might have just been chanting it at Booker T to try to be like, this is how it's pronounced. But yes, they might have actually just liked him too. So you're going to have some of that when a guy is a stone cold killer and is just a relentless, just a machine who beats down whoever he's facing, face or heel. This is the kind of thing that gets a lot of notice. Anything on Carver over Legacy?
Like what you said, I mean, these guys had amazing chemistry together. Sean is a bump machine for Keanu Carver. These guys, I think, are on a great trajectory. Sean Legacy, for somebody that hasn't, well, actually, I guess really both of these guys, they haven't really been on the NXT stage for very long. They tore the house down tonight, as far as I'm concerned, with this match. This I wouldn't say it was my favorite match tonight, but this definitely ranked up there. I think it was just the right amount of domination from Keanu Carver and kind of scrappy fight from underneath from Sean Legacy, where it didn't make Sean Legacy look weak, and it obviously did boost Keanu Carver's momentum. Not much more to add here either. I think kind of speaks for itself, at least with that so far.
That actually may have been my favorite match of the night. Bourne Page was competent, but it wasn't like out of this world. Vanity Project versus Dark State would be the other option for me. Yeah. It was so much fun and exactly what I would want to see out of those two teams. And the other matches,
it was the speed match for me. The men's
speed match was really good.
And I'm shocked I'm saying that, but it really was.
Yeah. Oh God, maybe it was that one. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of contenders. The one other match we haven't talked about is Cale Dixon versus Uriah Connors. Connors wins this in 428. You knew he was going to. You just didn't know if he'd win with help or if they'd just have him win. But Connors wins for his new faction. Cale Dixon doing everything he can to be a dude. He pushes Lexus King and Stacks aside as he powers through them on the outside, because he's trying to stand up for himself, but he cannot beat Uriah Connors in the end. And Cale Dixon and Andre Chase are standing there, just the saddest little faction that ever existed, and I just don't know where it's going to go from here. They've never needed Bodie Hayward so badly, but Uriah, he goes over Cale, and you knew they'd do this match, but you knew they'd do it pretty quick to get it out of the way so this faction could go on to whatever they got going on next. I don't know what anyone in this match is doing next. Literally anyone. I think that the opportunities or the possibilities are endless. But yeah, Finley's kid, apparently he loves to fight.
Apparently so. It must be in his blood or something like that. This match was fine. This angle, I mean, it's very mid-card, which was fine. There needs to be a mid-card. And I think it's working so far. It's good. I'm interested to see what happens with this new Legacy faction. I forget, Birthright, I think is what at least we were calling it. I don't know if that's what they're actually calling it or whatever, but um, I'm curious to see, how this evolves, where it goes, where and how Connors winds up evolving here. If he winds up taking, the Finley last name, if they bring Dave Finley in, I mean, there's so many different things that they could potentially do here. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. Chase University, man, yeah, they've had their highs, they've had their lows, and I don't feel like they've had a single high since Andre Chase came back and kind of reformed Chase University with Dixon and Uriah Connors, which is partly the story they're telling with Uriah moving to this new faction with with Lexus King, Stax, and all of that. But I'm wondering what's going to happen with them. I mean, do they break up? Does Andre I mean, man, do they get future into Everett? I don't know. I hate to say it or even think about it, but I mean, how much longer can Andre Chase be Andre Chase and try to keep Chase University afloat with one student, a student that doesn't win? So I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to recapture the kind of drama that they had, with Thea Hale, and I can't think of the other guy's name. Begins with the D. I can picture him clear as day.
I unmuted so I could say his name, and then it didn't come to me. Oh my God, he was
Wow.
getting kind of a push before they
Yeah.
let him go. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, this is gonna drive me nuts. Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson. There it is. Finally
Man,
came into my
man.
brain. Um, I don't think they're going, like, they haven't reclaimed that at all since Chase University's been reformed. So I don't know. I say is at this point, break them up, repackage them, do something different with them, put them under a hood. I don't know, but it's not working unless they just want Chase University to be the forever job squad. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do that. It's not why Andre Chase got into the business, but if the biggest company in the world can pay him for his whole life, then
Yeah.
I guess let him. Okay, NXT Origins, Damian Priest. Is this a thing they've done before?
No, this is something I was hoping you were going to bring up, and if you didn't, it was on my notes to bring up.
Yeah, it was brief, but I thought it was kind of nice.
I like it.
Yeah, he just talked about finding his voice in NXT,
He
and
being
it
Damian
was a
Priest.
brief version because he went through a few kind of gimmick changes from the kind of emo version of himself to the womanizer version to the rock star version, whatever you consider him to be now. He figured that all out, and he kind of broke kayfabe. That's not a thing to break kayfabe anymore, but broke it by just talking about like the fame and the and all the other things that go into being a wrestler, other than just be between the ropes. I think that I would accept this as something that they do monthly, if not weekly. I think it's kind of a nice touch. I think if they do it weekly, they'll run out of people that they want to feature because they'll start running out of people that are still in the company. But doing this every now and then, I think, is kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a series like Unreal or if it's going to be a once in a while type thing or anything like that. This is the first time I'd seen it, so I don't even know if it's been leaked online and people are talking about it beforehand. I'm not sure, but yeah, I like it. NXT at this point has a legacy. It's been around for more than 8 years, as Kelly knows. So why not kind of tell some stories and dive back into these larger stars, that have kind of that made their way through NXT and kind of tell that story. I think it's cool. I don't think I'd want them to do them every week or anything like that. Yeah, I think it's maybe a monthly thing or a once in a while they drop them when they make them or whatever. But with all the other content like this that WWE has put out, like Unreal and things like that, um, uh, and countless other documentaries and stuff over the years, why not NXT? And like you say, showcase guys like Damian Priest, girls like Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, even Gargano to a point. I mean, he's not obviously the level of a star on the main roster that I feel like he should have been, Ciampa too, but um, uh, those are all stories that they could tell. And Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this NXT Oranges series or uh, whatever it turns out to being. I think it'd be cool. EO Sky, Ryan Solario just said EO Sky, like that's another great one. So yeah, I'm can't wait.
You can email us at PWTorchNXT at gmail.com. This is
Yes,
from Kevin
email.com.
Catani. Yeah. Greetings and salutations, gents, and hi to the best chat in the PWT family. I hope this email finds you well. Sheesh. If there was ever a spotlight episode, tonight was one for all the believers. Hi, Nate. While I am an unabashed fan of Joe Hendry, I also objectively think that the video packages tonight gave fans, new and old, a real sense of who Joe is and what his mission statement is. What did you think of all the Hendry spots? We've talked about them.
We have.
I thought that they were good. He's human already, but humanizing further is not a bad thing. And heroes' journeys are good, no matter when you tell them. He continues. Also, while I know that interference is par for the course in NXT, I think tonight was one of the first that I found myself audibly groaning at how much interference there was across the board tonight. What do you both think? Too much, not enough, just right? I think it was just right given all the storylines going on. There was a lot, but the storylines were all benefited from the interferences that happened. Like it can be irritating when there's so much of it, especially on the weekly show when you got stuff that isn't even leading to a major match, when it's just to get out of not wanting to have a finish. I didn't feel that tonight.
No, a lot of times when there are a lot of interferences and wacky finishes, like I think about it and I'm like, oh, it didn't even phase me tonight. I didn't even realize it until reading the email. So I'd say just right.
Kevin concludes, that's all for tonight. Aside from the Zaruka breakup, I was encouraged by all the new faces getting a chance to shine. Go VIP. Office hours are now over. The professor, Kevin P. Catani, PhD. Yeah, he used to say go VIP and listen to 8YB, and now I'm sad because my show's over. Okay, so Tatum Paxley talked in the dark and said, I always wanted acceptance, and you guys accepted me for me, and now I'm happy. And Izzy Dame tried to get into it with her, and then the lights went out, and we got Blake Monroe's entrance. So they did their thing. We also had a scene leading to Vanity Project and Ricky Saints having a thing with Hank and Tank and Shiloh Hill. Vanity Project will face Hank and Tank and Shiloh Hill next week, which is, I'm glad to see Shiloh Hill. I'm less glad to see him teaming with losers. And I don't mean losers in these guys suck. I mean losers in they lose matches. That's what they do. That's what they're for.
They're lovable losers, exactly.
They are. And I don't want Shiloh rubbing elbows with guys who lose more than he has to. This it gives him something to do, but I don't want him to have to do this more than he has to. But yeah, they took apart Brad Baylor's car, which I thought was a bizarre touch. One of the worst things that's ever happened in the NXT parking lot, which is a very, very high bar. So yeah, anything on that or anything we didn't touch on?
No, I don't know. I'm with you. I wish Shiloh was kind of doing his own thing and maybe not being, I don't want to say relegated to Hank and Tank, because Hank and Tank do have some sort of value, but or some value, not some sort of, some value. But I think Charlotte Hill's value is much higher than that. Now, granted, maybe there's something they want him to work on before they push him a little bit more or something like that. So that's why, maybe they put him with Hank and Tank to before they put him in more of a spotlight. I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, it was entertaining. It was fun. I enjoyed the segment. The other what was the other thing? Tatum and Izzy. I liked. Uh, I mean, for what Tatum was saying and things, it was nothing she hadn't really said before in some way, shape, or form. But I do like the fact that it was done in the audience, and then Izzy Dame comes from the other side of, the where the audience is, and kind of they have a little bit of that interaction in the crowd. That was a little different. Kind of shake things up a little bit than just attacking someone in the back or in the ring while they're talking. It was just kind of something a little different and more unique. So call that out. But yeah, nothing else. And I think that really. Oh, the only other thing was the way Mr. Stone opened the show tonight, kind of exactly how Corey and Michael Cole opened the Raw last night, and almost giving it more of a sports presentation feel. I think personally it's cheesy. I get why they're doing it to maybe make it feel a little bit more sportsy and whatever. But at least we're not getting Jey Uso coming out from the crowd yeeting every week on NXT. So I'm fine with that.
I think it's less cheesy than I think it achieves kind of what it wants to. I didn't know that they did that on Raw last night because I haven't seen last night's Raw, but yeah, I'm pro. One last thing in the chat, Ryan Florio says the worst thing was who attacked Hideo Itami.
Rikishi.
Yeah, Hideo Itami attacked. All right, Austin, I did it. Yeah, so
I did it for Solo.
Hideo Itami was attacked in the parking lot, and it was because Itami was about to win a triple threat to move on to be the next challenger for the NXT championship, and almost certainly would have won it. And he was injured very, very seriously. Like he was figured in at the very top of NXT, and his injury completely derailed him.
Yeah, he was gone for like a year, wasn't he?
Yeah. So when he came back, the question of who attacked him wasn't really relevant anymore because anybody who would have attacked him had already either been moved out of the company or up to the main roster. So it didn't matter who attacked him anymore because he couldn't have a feud with that person. Like the big red herring was Kevin Owens, who was walking by at the time with his belt, and he looked and he just goes, "Oh, that's a shame." Like just totally mocking the whole thing. And so it could have been him, but yeah, they dropped it because not only did they have nobody who could feud with him, they also realized that when he came back, they were in more need of a top heel than they were a top face. So they figured out a way to turn him heel in short order. So whoever attacked him in the parking lot was no longer a specific thing. But yeah, there were other storylines they dropped because they let go of guys many years ago that I could bore people with. You could ask who raised the briefcase at Money in the Bank, but that's going way or in the ladder match, whatever. That's going way back.
Way back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I believe I will fizzle out here. A very busy show. I'm psyched that we got through it in 64 minutes here because 7 matches and a whole lot going on backstage. Yes. I'm Kelly Wells. You can find me all over social media at, you know what? If you've wanted to find me, you've done it by now. And if you haven't, then what the hell, gang? What the hell? That is that. And Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg. You can check the things I do at natelindberg.com.
Cheers, and we will see you in 7.
Horseshoe.